Hello everyone, welcome back. It's been another long week. I did get to spend some time going through a bunch of material design pull requests and knocked out a bunch of those. As part of doing that, I ended up spending a bunch of time writing UI tests, just going through different changes and trying to actually make sure that each of the bug fixes in addition came with appropriate tests added to it, which then started to expose a bunch of limitations that I had in my XAML test library. So I thought tonight I would probably go through and spend some time working on that API and actually trying to get it cleaned up and a little better so that I struggle a little less, because it's very frustrating trying to work on a pull request, wanting to write the test, and then realizing my testing library just doesn't support what I want to do. So I think that's where I was going to go tonight. As always, I'm happy to deviate, answer questions, do whatever, but that's at least my officialized-ish game plan. So going to jump over here. And going through it, let's see, this is material design stuff. Let's jump over here. I've decided to make Edge my official-ish browser, and give it a couple week test and see how I like it. We'll see how it goes. So I've logged a bunch of issues in here, and the one that's currently bitten me the most recently is allow for invoking attached properties. So I haven't put a lot of details on most of these issues because this thing is still very much beta quality and it's largely for me, so this is just enough for me to remember. So let me back up and I'll show you sort of where I was going with this. So I want to be able to write effectively this sort of test, right? So there's a text block here that's going to get generated. We're setting grid row to 3, which is great. It's not inside of a grid, so this attached property setter is going to do nothing, but that's not the point. The intent here is to be able to actually say, I want to be able to get that property. And right now, if we were to just ask for something like row, right, I'm not going to get it. And I could do grid.row, and that ain't going to work. So, because ultimately right now, when it goes to look these things up, it's just trying to grab properties on the element itself, which is fine-ish. But with this trying to test XAML, I want to be able to do this. I'm still not sold on the syntax. I think the cleanest way to do this is to just pass the dependency property into get property. I think that's the cleanest syntax. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that's the cleanest syntax. And now the problem comes. So on my interface, obviously get property currently only takes the string name. That's probably going to need a change. But what I was looking at is building out this, right? So have an extension method. Oh, and this guy would need to be something like that, right? So that now hits this extension method. And then the question then comes in what should this do or how should this work? My initial gut reaction is I change get property to take more than just a name, and I'm thinking what I might do is I'm gonna just do an overload, one on get property that takes in an owner type, and the rationale being that I think is the only way to realistically look this up. Yeah, I think we're going to try that. I think that's the way we're going to go. And we could cheat. We could cheat and do an optional parameter. Let's see, string owner type. And this guy is definitely nullable. I'm almost wondering if I just get rid of this altogether and just require everything to go through here, where owner type is completely optional. Yeah, let's do that. Let's change. Let's just break the interface. This is why the XAML test library, I'm versioning it at 0.0 for the major minor versions, and I'm not following Semver until I get an initial release. So until 1.0, everything's considered beta and completely in flux, because I'm going to break stuff, a lot of stuff. And so that's just the way it's going to go until I'm ready to actually kick it out. Let's see here. So if we do that, that's going to break a lot of stuff. So in the interest of not making everything hate me, let's do let's go back and we're gonna override. So public, we're gonna do this. So we're gonna basically just put the API back, right? Let's see, return await, which requires async now. And I want visual element. I want that to go there. And await element get property name null. All right, so we're just gonna straight up go through and use expression body. No, I want to add null check. That's what I want, not expression body. What are you squawking about? Cannot declare instance members. Well, it should be static because it's an extension method. Okay, this way all my other tests that are just calling get property and passing the string name, they can keep working. So the short version is I just need to handle this new owner type. So let's go and look at its implementation. So internal visual element, right? So you need to take in a nullable string called owner type. And in the event that owner type is null, we're going to just assume that the type of the element is what we want. So we need to update this query. So back to our protocol buffer spec. So for people who've seen the video before, right now there's a server and client that run. Server runs inside of basically an empty WPF application, and the client runs inside the unit test project and populates the shell of a WPF app. Let's see, so property query. We won't break this here. Owner type. I'll put you in on a 3, right? And that'll be fine. I don't know if I need to do anything else. I think that's good enough. So now here we should have owner type. It's owner type and make you non-nullable. Great. That's everything we have to do client side. So let's go look at the server side. So again, client side runs inside of the unit test project, right? So for this test, this all happens inside of the unit test project's process, but starting up this unit test actually kicks off. So the test initialize does this start remote. So this is what spins up a empty WPF app and loads up some defaults into it and then enables all of this to be possible. This server client architecture seems familiar. Yes, Kenny, someone may have leached it from something else that he may or may not have done. Except for rather than just using protocol buffers, or I'm sorry, yeah, this one's actually using protobuf with protospec files. So you'll note that I didn't have to like new up named pipes and all that kind of jazz. It just sort of works for me, which is awesome. Okay. And more importantly, I've got a reasonable number of tests set up. And actually right now, all of my tests should compile. Performance is probably great too. It's actually not too bad. So this is going to sound horrible, but then let me explain. I'm running all of my tests in under 20 seconds. Now, that sounds horrible when you look at my 33 tests, 20 seconds. That's not that great. But compare it against any other UI testing framework with the equivalent number of tests. So it's very fast, very, very fast. So yeah, because each of these tests is spinning a process. So that's a lot of the overhead. I want to get it to the point because I believe I can get this to where a lot of these tests don't need to respin the process, right? They could effectively clear the app and start over, especially if they didn't modify app state. And I want to get some sort of API at some point that lets me do that, because if I don't have to respin that process, I can significantly cut this time down, because this start remote takes a lot of the time. So there's that. But let's just prove that this fails first before we go and implement it. So this should work. Oh, I probably didn't need to run the entire suite, but we'll let it just flash for a moment, and hopefully one failure. Flash, 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 flash. And not all of these are UI tests, by the way. Like these color mix-in tests is legitimately straight up a unit test. It's just doing color maths. So let's see. Exactly one test failure. Could not find property with name row on element text box. Great. That sounds sort of like what we expect. Okay, let's make a pass. Okay, so over here, we got to do a little bit. So this is ultimately what's biting us, right? Is right now, it's just pulling all of the properties off of the element. That's not what we want. So, well, it's not what we want in all cases. So if string is null or white space, let's do request owner type. So if we don't have an owner type, this is all well and good, right? Because ultimately what we want is, I think, a property info. I'm actually wondering if maybe all of this goes inside the if. Is null or white space. Sure, I typoed something. Oh, capitalization on the S, I bet. I'm sort of wondering what to do, because actually I think what we should do is maybe change the if statement a little bit. So if, well, we know element's already a dependency object. So element itself is going to have get value if I give it a dependency property. So yeah, because this is a property descriptor. This is just using reflection. And in the case of an owner type, I want to go and look it up differently. So how about let's just move. Let's see. Boop, boop. Oh, I don't have Karnak running. One second. We'll get keyboard shortcuts showing up. Control-Shift-Fs. Ha ha ha. There we are. Okay, so in the event that owner type is not set, or that we have an owner type, right? I sort of want to go type owner type gets type. Now, there is going to be something to be said about, yeah, I think what we're going to need to do, I kind of want to do an error if the owner type isn't found. So, grumble, 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 grumble. Let's see, if owner type is null, we're just going to do one of these numbers here. Let's see, could not find owner type blah with property blah, and we don't care about on element anymore, right? So what we really want here is request owner type, I think. Because again, the goal here is to be able to retrieve back attached properties off this element. So if owner type is set, ultimately we just need to look at that owner type, find its attached dependency properties, and then query them out. So I'm trying to think, is there a, so let's look real quick. So I just want to make sure I'm not being too stupid. That's a static class. I just want an instance class. Fine. Oh, here, I'm already inside of an instance class. Perfect. Let's see. So if we look at, ready? what is it? Attached. Prop A, is that there it is. Okay, so this is what an attached property is going to look like, right? And so owner class is usually going to be something like this. And I'm wondering do you have something nice and staticky that I can use to query with? Register attached. I kind of want to know what register attached. Where does register attached send me? Is there a way for me? Feels like there should be a dictionary or something that this is being registered into that I want to query back out. Like I want to have a, can I just, so I'm sorry, I'm struggling to remember my APIs on this. And it feels like one of these things I can use to get in here directly without like needing to reflect in on the type, right? Because if you have to reflect in on the type, you've already gone too far. Sealed class, hidden constructor, or no constructor, I guess. Great, fine. Well, when in doubt, let's just go look. So I'm a little curious why dependency property register attached. Right? I want to know where this goes. There should be. I thought I had decompile sources. Did I not turn that on? Enable navigation to decompiled sources. That's what we'd like. I would like to go there, please. Thank you. Register attached. Let's go there. Register common. Yeah, I just want to know where this ends up. That's all I want. Validate default value, dependency property, metadata. So there's a hash table. Okay. So given a key, right? So I need the dependency property key, it appears. Or I guess this from name. That guy goes into a hash table. Okay, I'm with you so far. And then it returns it back out, which is great. I approve. But how, if I want to get at you, how do I get at you? So where, so given this hash table with this key, he contains the dependency properties. So hypothetically, if I can do that, so who exactly accesses this? Is there access to this from the outside? Add owner, not what I care about. Add owner, still not what I care about. From name. See, this is what I want right here. I want this method. That's exactly what I want to invoke. I have a name, I have an owner type, I want a dependency property. This is what I want. How bad would it be to reflect in and grab it? That's kind of exactly what I want. Yeah, I think I just reflect in and grab it. Is there any reason I wouldn't do that? Nope, that sounds bad enough to be what I want. Okay, so, but we're gonna do it fancy like. Yeah, fancy like. Okay, so let's go and wrap this up in a test somewhere, or in a separate class. So how about internal class dependency property helper? All right, and sure, you can be static. That sounds great. Public static dependency property get find Naming things is hard. Suggestions? Anyone? Bueller. All right, because this is the signature I want. I don't know about the name yet, but that's the signature I want. So let's do static constructor, and then let's go do mean things with reflection. So var, or I guess let's just do type of dependency property, right? Get method, and we want, what's that little guy called again? From name. That sounds great. All right, so we'll do from name, and then we're going to need to do some binding flags because that guy is definitely not public. Binding flags, and I believe it's, yep, so binding flags static first of all. Binding flags non-public. Sure. Method info, from name method, something akin to this, something akin to this. Okay, so ultimately what we would like to end up with in here, private static read only func. Func is going to take in a string, a type, and return a dependency property. How about, let's do it as a property rather than a field. From name, boom. So we want to build that, right? So let's see, we can work backwards, I guess, from name. Well, I guess I shouldn't work backwards. So expression trees are going to be the lesson for tonight, I guess. So for people who are unfamiliar with expression trees, you secretly use them anytime you do like entity framework and you're writing lambdas inside of your selects. Those lambdas do not get evaluated as regular funcs. They get converted to what are called expressions. And those expressions can then be parsed as coding metadata or compiled into funcs. So in our case, we're going to just build up the expression tree, stuff it inside of a func, and then just invoke it whenever we want. So expression, so I'm trying to remember is it, why am I blanking on this? It's expression compiles the last call on it, but there is system link queries as well, right? So that depends, right? So int array gets new int 0, right? The thing is, if you do something like select here, right? Select x equals 0, right? So the first question should be, is this lambda expression a func or an expression? And the answer is, just from this data here, you can't tell. The key is to look at the method that's being invoked. And this guy here is going to convert it to a func, a delegate. So in general, link over objects that are acting on IEnumerables are not going to be funcs. If you look at the same select method on EF, you're going to find that it's going to resolve to an expression of func, which will be different. So there are, in C#, there's a lot of different types that, or I should say, there's bits of code that you can write that will that the compiler will convert to multiple different types depending on context. So my other favorite one is $quote, right? You can't tell what this is. Most people would say it's a string, and like 99% of the time they would be right. However, depending on context, the compiler may make this an interpolated string, which is the string equivalent of what we're doing with expression trees. So you can do some fancy stuff. So expression of func of string of type of dependency property, right? So this is from name. There, system linked out expressions. That's what I want. So we want a lambda expression, I think. Well, we're gonna come back to this because this is gonna go like this, and then ultimately from name is going to get from name dot compile, right? So we're gonna build up a whole bunch of expressions in a tree form, right? And then we're just gonna compile it into a delegate, such that this guy here becomes really stupid simple and literally just becomes from name, passing in name and owner type. And the only reason I'm going through all of this effort rather than just reflecting in and grabbing it is by doing it this way, I only have to incur the reflection hit once. And given how long these things run, that's probably better. Maybe premature optimization, but whatever, we're doing it. Let's do parameter expression. Well, method invoke expression, right? I'm trying to remember the name of these things. About invoke expression. What? I'm being dumb, and I'm not sure why. Hang on. Problem 1. That wasn't Mountain Dew. Solution. Better. This guy's probably wacky. Yeah, he's unhappy that this could be null. So we'll let that be nullable. Ultimately, we need to just throw on this. Let's just handle that real quick. Throw new invalid operation exception. Let's see. Failed to find from name method. I don't expect that one will blow up very much on me. Invoke. Okay. System dot link dot expressions dot. Okay. Since I can't remember what all of these things are, let's see. I want the method invoke one. Member method call expression. That's the name that I couldn't come up with. Thank you. Okay. IntelliSense, I would really like it if you would help me with my constructor syntax. That would be great if you could do that. Oh, right. You can't get to the constructors directly. Everything has to flow through expression, doesn't it? Yeah, that's right. Let's see. Was it invoke? Yeah. Okay, so invoke wants an expression. Is that right? Wasn't it method? No, member bind, invoke. It's got to be invoke. Call. I thought there was one that was What's bothering me about invoke is I'm very confident that there is one of these guys that takes in a method info. So what? The fact that I'm not getting IntelliSense on this is really frustrating. Yeah, I understand. Just navigate. Darn it. I just want to look at just want to see all of the things in here. It is call. Yeah, because call takes in method info and then arguments. Yeah, that's what we want. We want call. So from name method, right? And then we're going to need a couple parameters to go into that. So expression dot parameter, type of string. We could give it a name, but auto generate sounds fine. Name parameter, var owner type parameter gets type of type. That won't confuse anyone, most notably me here in a moment. Really? Trust me, that's the one I want. Come on, there's no way. Using expression gets system dot link expressions dot expression. Boom. No longer need you anymore. Great. Okay. And actually, you know what would have been easier? Let's just do this. Should have done it in the first time. Yeah, move it to its own file. Boom. No thinking. Boom. This guy. Right? Now, do I need that? Are you still going to be ambiguous? Oh, you are. Oh, because of the system windows. No. Yeah, whatever. Okay. So this is going to take a name parameter, and it's going to take an owner type parameter. Right? Var call, and this is going to get expression lambda, right? And we are going to have it be the call, the name parameter, and the owner type parameter. Boom. Right? What is your problem? Are you wanting generic types or something? Do I have to be explicit? Let's see. Lambda T delegate. Yeah, so I need to do, in order to go straight to this, I need that whole big ugly thing to go here. That gets ugly. Wishing for C#9 right about now. And now we can do that. So I don't know if C#9 will fix the static calls. So what I'm referencing is in C#9. So right now you can do something like list int, list gets new, list int, right? And that's great. Compiles, works, everyone's happy, right? Then in like C#5, I believe, or 4, var comes along, and var gets typed based upon the right-hand side of the expression. The problem is var can't be used in all cases because sometimes this doesn't make a lot of sense. What we're getting in C#9 is the inverse. So rather than typing this, I can just do this. And then all of my types can all be on the left-hand side of the equals, and they all line up nicely now. And I can just type new, and new figures it out because it knows what type I want from the left. It won't be a dream for long, Kenny. Give it time. It's coming. It's coming. It's in the proposals. I don't remember if it's actually been done up or not, but it is in the C#9 proposal. Oh, Mountain Dew, how I've missed thee. Okay, so we've done all that. We did all that. Clean up my usings. That sounds great. Sounds great. Sounds great. Don't know if this is going to work, but that's what testing is for. Okay, so we got all that. We got all that. Okay, got a test. Got a test. Virtual tree service. So we come down here. We want to check that. So here's the other question. This guy here likely can return null, right? Because we are invoking into this guy's internals. And let's see here. It throws argument null exceptions. While dependency property is null and owner type, it's going to try and find it. But I don't see anything that would necessarily prevent this from being null. It'll loop multiple times, but once owner type goes to null, if dependency property is still null, this guy could return null. And it's initialized null to there. Okay, so I'm going to assume that that means that this guy can easily return null, and we're going to declare him as such. Okay, so let's see. Dependency property. Dependency property helper. Fine. Again, I'm not really a big fan of that name. Request.name and owner type. If right. Yeah. I understand. You're unhappy. Nullable. If we should probably call this dependency property. Dependency property. Right. If dependency property is null, we're going to do another error and just early exit because why not? Let's see. Could not find dependency property. Let's see. Could not find owner type. This with property doesn't make a lot of sense up here. Right? Could not find owner type, blah. Could not find dependency property. Here, Kenny, here's a feature. Ready? Drag and drop text. Yeah. I know, that's the feature that you love the most. Could not find dependency property on owner type. Those who are unfamiliar, Kenny and I work together. Kenny just loves dragging and dropping text around his IDE. By loves, I clearly mean he disables it on every single IDE that he opens. Because it is on by default on all the good IDEs. And it is wonderful. Okay, so, again, just going back, we are trying to query out attached properties on a type. We've got the dependency property. So, at this point, it should be a simple matter of we do all of this stuff, right? So value is going to get, let's see, element get value dependency property, right? That's going to pull a value. Let's see, and I think dependency property dependency property. By the end of this, I'm going to be able to spell it, right? Okay, and that exists there. That's happy. Value type, value. And I think the rest of you just go in an else block, right? And we basically end up with 2 code paths. Seems reasonable. Okay, what are the odds the test passes on the first try? We're just going for gold. Hit the run. We start a red. It'll go green. It'll be great. Or more likely, it'll blow up because I messed up something somewhere. Boom! Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. I love it when a plan comes together. Just making sure I didn't break anything else. That was pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. That was pretty cool. Yeah. That's pretty nice. Okay, so one other thing I would like to test. So this is great. This, I think we can conclude. Yeah. Green check marks, my world is happy. So before I get too carried away, let's just do a quick commit. Adding support for attached properties, fixes. Let's go back here. Number 8. Wow. How often do you get to resolve a bug number with single digits? That never happens. Okay. But I'd like to go through and write one more test. One more test. Did I update? Oh yeah. Okay. Side tangent. Side tangent. The the library is now out on NuGet. I know I've talked about this a couple times before. The Windows Community Toolkit, primarily for UWP. Finally, they got the pull request merged and the NuGet package is there. So if you are a fan of Galasoft MVVM Lite, you will love this package. Absolutely love this package. So this is an updated version of it with all the latest bells and whistles. The performance on this project is insane. The benchmarks that they listed are absolutely ridiculous. So I am very, very happy to say it is still in preview, right? And based on how they versioned it, I'm guessing it's going to come out with their 7.0 release. Not confident, but they versioned it 7.0 -preview. So I'm going to guess that it's going to release with the 7.0. So that'll probably be its initial entry in here. The only thing about it that I'm not thrilled about, that I want to go and figure out and understand why, is it takes a dependency on Microsoft Extensions dependency injection, and I'm not sure why. So I don't know why that dependency is there. So I want to go look that up and at least understand why that's there. I suspect, so MVVM Lite, there used to be two packages. One was libs only, which is what I usually went with, and then one was the full package that had like a view model locator pattern. And I'm wondering if this dependency, injection dependency, is only there because they've got some locator DI thingy built into it. Haven't looked at the APIs much, but it's there and it's happy. So naturally, we reference it because it is the new hotness and we must use it. So other thing that's worth noting is you'll note this test controls namespace here. So on these tests, I don't remember where this gets used, so I'm just going to find usages real quick. There is support in this library as of, I don't know, a few days ago, to be able to write tests like this. So create window with user control. So this is actually built into the main library, right? So it's an extension method, but it's an extension method that's built in. So app makes sense. So right on app, you've got this nice little helper that lets you just feed it a user control. And so then it'll spin up and do the XAML stuff and add in all the user control-y bits and this, that, and the other, right? So it makes it convenient. But the key part there that it enables is, say you want to, like, for example, this guy I wanted to test validation, which required having a binding, which meant that I needed a view model or some form of data context in there, right? And more importantly, then I needed to muck with it. And so that kind of gets to be a pain to set up when you have to pass everything through to your library as strings, which is kind of obnoxious, right? But what we can do, and how this guy ends up working, is the WPF shell that it deploys out, you can actually have it reference the unit test project as a dependency and load user controls out of it. So that's what this does. So then you can code this up and do all your fancy stuff in Visual Studio and your bindings and your XAML, and then in your code behind, and it doesn't all have to be in one file. I put it all in one file because I liked it. Ooh. View model base. Yes, I get to do this now, right? Or is it observable object? Observable object. Come on, baby. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, so pretty, so pretty, so pretty. And this, I believe, just becomes set ref name value and done. So all this boilerplate just kind of goes away, right? Set does not exist in the current context. Oh, what is it? I know you're down there somewhere. On property change, property changing, set property. That's what I'm looking for. I was gonna say, I know there's something in the base class. So now your view models look like that. So this guy handles the comparison, the raising of property changed, and all of that jazz. You don't have to stress about it. It just works. So there is all of that. And so again, I just kind of stuffed all of my things into this one file. You don't have to. Clean that up. But I think one thing that I do want to write a quick test for to make sure that it works is, can I retrieve one of my own attached properties, right? So if I declare a custom attached property, can I get it back? So let's see. What do I'm still struggling on figuring out how to organize this. Make an attached properties namespace and just put it in there. Do I make something in here? Let's just do it in here. So new user control. What should we use here? Let's do something like text block attached property. And I am all over the bit on my naming conventions in here. So these user controls, the fact that I'm doing this underscore is something I'm trying. I'm not even sure I like it. But you got to try something. Okay, so let's see. Prop A is the magical incantation, and your type will be. What should we make this? Let's just do a string. Nothing fancy. My custom property, right? And then automatically include all this jazz. Away we go. And the owner type, this is going to get ugly if I have to do this. We'll do it. It'll be ugly. Foo sounds like a great default. Okay, so we've got an attached property. Blah, blah, blah. Don't care about any of that. Great. So inside of the user control XAML now, let's go ahead and just do a, we'll do a text block. We'll give it a name. Actually, we don't even need to give it a name. Just abandon. And then we will do my custom property gets bar an R, and then auto code to victory. No, no, you're not going to be hip to that. You're going to make me declare it all the way out, aren't you? Local, colon, type, colon, boom. Right? It doesn't exist. It will exist once we compile you. Be happy. The designer gets very confused in these types of situations where you've got these types of attached properties because they show up and they go away because it wants them to exist pre-compile and they don't. Okay, so let's see. I want to do this again, sort of, but I want to do can retrieve. Actually, I guess I just want custom attached property, right? And so I want to go through and do this instead of this. That is not what I want. And space there. Text block underscore find me the thing. Get element. Right, text block, something akin to that, and then get property string, and I would like to use this guy's attached property instead. And I expect this to be bar, right? So run the test. Huzzah! Okay, so this is great and good, but now we need to do the same thing on the setter side. Yeah, let's go down here. Boom. So on set property can sign attach property value. So we're going to go here, and I want to be able to do set property. I want to be able to do this. I want you to become a 2, and I think we just I'm fairly confident our set property returns the value. It does, so we can do it all in one shot. On set property can sign, and we're going to say new value, and we will do set property, get rid of this, and do new value, right? That goes there, that just works, and now we have to build out the API for this because this does not exist yet. So we did the get property side of things and not the set property side of things. So let's go to visual element, we'll start there. So get property had this, and I think what we're going to do, I think we're going to just take this off, right? We're going to do owner type again here, right? And then I think we've got a couple things we got to go create in our mixins. Let's see here. So how are we going to do this? Visual element mixins, this guy. So a couple things I note. All right, first of all, set property. I want to recreate the API that existed there before, right? I want that to exist so that I don't break everybody who's already using that API. Let's see, static async, return await. This needs to become a attach property. Wrap that guy around. Element set property. This becomes name, value, value type, and null, right? So we'll just pass that all the way through. That now works. Okay, and then what we also want is we want to create public static async task of t, set property of t, this visual element, and I want to do dependency property, t value, right? So I want that to work as well. Let's see, so add null checks for all the things, and then let's see, return await element, set property. What did we do up here to enable this? We just duplicated and called the overload. Okay, so let's look down here. Seems like there's some opportunities to dry that up. So regardless, we're going to do this. Actually, we're just going to do all the things, right? We're going to do all these things. Do I go through and clean this up now or not? Do I clean it up now? I probably should. Probably should. Because ultimately what I need is I need a common thing that both of these guys can invoke. So let's see. So this is not going to be public. This will be private. This will be a set property. Because both of these are taking a T. They're going to both give me a visual element. They are going to give me a property name. And how about a string value? I guess I could do a T value. That's not a problem. So I've got T there already. And then a nullable string for owner type, right? Because that's really all I'm looking for. Let's see. So we don't need to check that. Don't really need to check that. So property name goes there, and this guy needs to not invoke that overload. So this guy down here is going to be owner type, right? And this should get me all the way into my interface. Good. That's going to call into the base. That's going to do all the things, and now both of you guys can leverage this. Okay. That sounds better. Boom. So return, let's see, await, set property, element, and then we want the name. So name, let's see, and then we want value. And we want dependency property, owner type, assembly qualified name. Do all the things, right? And I guess we technically don't need to specify T here. It can derive it from value. Great. Come down here, clean this up, return await, set property, element, property name, value, null. And then I don't need any of this. We consolidate all of that into one happy little place. Okay, that works a little better. And let's go back up here. Do we need to do the same thing on get? Is it worth it for the 2 lines of code that it's going to do? Probably. I'm not interested in doing it from the get. That's a refactor for another day. Let's come in here. So these two, set property, Does that just work? No. But let's prove now that they compiled that they fail. No. So this does not contain set property. So you go away. You become owner type. Right? There's that. There's that. We're going to have owner type gets owner type. And we need to update this protospec. So let's see, set property request. Set property request, string owner type. Put that in on the end. Okay, so run test. You should fail. Failing test. Failing test. Excellent. Okay. So now we'll go to the service side, and rather than get property, we will probably need something akin to this. And let's go with set property. We are going to have to do some refactors. But regardless, so we need to do this. We need to do this, and we need to do this. So the fact that I'm seeing a little bit of code here means I need a helper. And actually, I've already got this. Public static bool. Trying to think, because it'd be nice to return back a reasonable error message. But we could still do that. Public static. What does the signature need to look like? Because I either want back a dependency property or a reasonable string for the error message. You know what? I'm going to stress too much about it. Try get dependency property. Right? Let's see. What do we expect to pass? We expect to pass a name and an owner type. Let's see, string name, string owner type. And then this will be out dependency. Yeah, start with the easy solution. You're right, Kenny. You are right. Dependency property, dependency property. So this will be, let's see, not null when the return type is true. Right? So even though we're declaring it as nullable, it will not be null if the return type is true. So let us make it be so. So let's just grab this little bit of code here. We're going to slap that in. So first thing we need to do is get the owner type. Owner type. We can just call this type since it's going to be a little bit. So if owner type is null, return false. About and the property gets null. Cannot use it before it's declared because I cannot spell. So dependency property goes to null. What is your problem? Dependency property may be null here. Yeah. Return false. I'm going to come back to that. Oh, it's because it's declared down here. That's why it's getting confused. Okay. And then we'll do name and owner type and property. Right, boom, boom, boom. And then actually this guy here we could just reuse, right? So, and then rather than getting fancy, return dependency property not equal to null. So that's ultimately what we want. Let's see, so this just becomes type, and this becomes type. Dependency property does not exist in current context. What? Must have a non-null value when exiting with true. Huh? Misspelled. Oh, thank you. The later it gets, the worse my spelling gets. Okay. So now we've got that. We really don't need this. So let's make it private. Because ultimately everything should just flow through this. Okay, so that means that this becomes a little bit easier. How about if string, I'm just going to consolidate all of the checks into here. Owner type. We're also going to bail early here. That way I don't have to, because I'm going to end up doing the same null or white space check in both places. So we'll just declare it as nullable and then take it in. So what we'll do now is if dependency property helper. I promise by the end of this I am going to learn how to spell dependency property. Let's see, request.name, right, owner type, and then we'll do out. We'll just do this. Inline declaration. Booyah! And then we don't need I actually don't want to do that. I mean, I sort of want to do that, but I guess I still want to do if string. So the null or white space request owner type. So I don't want the, because I don't want to go down the dependency property path if this is null, because we know that we pass it as empty string for basic properties. So this guy here we actually want to take. It's not horrible if it returns, but the caller shouldn't be relying on that. And so if we failed to do it here, this is going to be where we do our error condition, right? Hey Kenny, drag and drop text. Okay. And then we're just going to give both errors, right? And all of that goes away. And right, so now we've got the dependency property and we need to do the setter on it. Let's go back and fix. I think I want to do this level of thing back on the getter too. Let's see, let's do get property. Just trying to show you that it's useful. Let's see here. So we've got this. And I believe what I want to do is this. Right, move that up. So for those who are interested, since I know it doesn't show up on my auto keyboard thing, that is select text and then Alt and up and down arrow keys. It's been a recent discovery of mine and I love it. Another coworker showed it to me, and it has been a lifesaver. The only thing that bothers me is the slight difference in defaults between VS Code and it. Okay, so that falls us into there. If owner type is set, we'll do the dependency property thing. Otherwise, we'll do the normal property thing. And then here we'll do the query, and we'll just have one generic message for failing to find the type. Seems reasonable, right? I think. Kinda. Maybe. We're shipping it. Okay, so now the question is what we got going on down here. So this guy goes and finds a property descriptor and does all that stuff. And ultimately, the key part is set value. You're welcome. I'm glad that was a new shortcut to you, Kenny. It's one of those, you don't think about, just moving a line up or down as being that valuable. And then you just start finding cases where you kind of want to move I want this block of things to go up. And then you just have to get used to the fact that it kind of looks weird while it's doing it. So what is going on here? So this is doing property descriptor lookup stuff, so none of this matters for our case. But we do have this get value bit, right? And this actually matters. So I think what I'm going to do is static object get value, right? Because of the process of taking the string that was sent across and converting it into the value static is something that I think we want to capture here, right? I believe this is something we want to capture. And this one we're going to cheat. We're going to just blatantly cheat. So by doing it like this, I can capture variables from the outside. So you'll note I now get access to things like request value type. Reply maybe null here. Yeah, this is going to be one of those cases where I just tell the compiler, no, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no way for that to occur. And I'm wondering if I actually need sure, return. How about try get value? I'm wondering, should I do this? What is the expectation here, right? So this is going to either give me a value to return, but I need to know if an error has been set. I'm sort of thinking that what I do in all cases is probably still catch the error on the outside. And this guy now is just responsible for getting the value. Right? So get value, return value. Right? So that should be there. And what is this guy here? Found property converter. What did I miss? Type converter. Property descriptor. So property descriptor. This guy's not going to have that, but I don't know if it matters. Well, it does. It does matter, but I don't actually care. So the property type, this is pulling it by name, but I think I want this guy to pass me a property descriptor. Well, I don't really need the property descriptor, right? What I really need off of it is the type converter. So how about type converter, property converter. property converter. All right, so that's all I really need right there. And I think this actually becomes a little bit simpler in that I think all I'm going to do is this, right? Property converter. I think I'm going to do type, target type, right? And so this is just going to be target type. So what we're going to do is this property converter fall back to that one. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Declared but never used. Okay, so I think that gets me, so I should be able to now extract the bits of here that I want, right? So object nullable value, I'm just going to put 2 on the end for the moment, get value. All right, so we are going to take in, let's see, so we don't need to pass anything other than a property converter, which will be null, but we do want to pass the property type so that it can convert appropriately. And then this bit we still need to do up here, right? So what we're going to do is then dependency property set value with value 2 for the moment because reasons. Let's see. Oh, it's actually element set property or set value, right? And it takes in dependency property with the value. Okay, and then this we retrieve this guy back out. So we do element get value from dependency property. We do all the same things. So we get that thing there, value 2 gets declared there, that goes there, and it passes all the way through. Okay, beauty. Beauty, 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 beauty. This goes else, right? And now we got to move some stuff up. So I think all of you just go inside that else, right? Indent, thank you. Okay, so this guy here becomes get value, and we want to do we do want to pull off this type converter, right? So I'm going to move you up here. Sort of wondering if I'm going to do the type converter here, if I should just pass it in both places. Come back to that. But that eliminates all of you, right? And so target type. Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if it actually doesn't make sense to pass. Okay, so let's get rid of target type. Right, and let's just do that. Make it easy, because this guy really should just be get converter of the property type. Boom. So because this is not going to be based on that, but instead based on the dependency properties type. So dependency property type, and then we'll just pass this in here. All right, so that cleans that up. And then we'll rename you now that we have the else condition, and that's all happy again. Okay, so we get the value, we set the value, we re-retrieve the value. Kind of think what we do is we do this here, right? And up here we'll just do object nullable value, right? So we'll get rid of that. Don't need that, don't need that. And then this all goes away, right? This just does that. Let's see here. I guess the property type really needs to be set inside here as well. Let's see, what is this? This is, yeah, because it's going to come from two different sources. That's fine, we'll put it back. We'll put it back. Even though the API is the same, dependency property.property type is not the same as found property.property type. Okay, but that sits there, that sits there. Go for gold. Come on, green circles. Green circle. Oh. We did a bad. Okay, so could not find property with name row. What? So that means I fell into this case, which is unfortunate because I really should have fallen into this case up here. Which means visual element is not setting owner type. Owner type is there. Okay, color me confused. So, well, let's start at the test, right? So set property goes into here. Passes value owner type. Set property comes into here. Passes owner type. Go to the implementation. I guess let's debug at least this far and confirm that all of these values line up with what I expect. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at the query. So on the query, owner type looks to be grid, which is correct. Name of property is row. Value of 2. Value type is an int. Seems reasonable. And then error messages. Could not find property with named row, despite the fact that owner type was very clearly set. Okay, which means I likely don't know how to do if conditions. There is that chance. If conditions are hard, especially after 10 p.m. Look at that. Let's try the other one, which I'm fairly confident on. Okay, rerun all of these, and let's just make sure we didn't break anything with our refactor. It is somewhat problematic that each of these tests take like 3/4 of a second to run. It would be really nice to be able to reuse that property. Oh, I'm thinking we broke something. Given that almost all the get properties are failing, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that I inverted the logic on both methods. And I'm just going to check there first. That is likely the cause. Oh, I guess I should have run app tests since I broke those too. But it's very likely that the same failure is true in both cases because get property is sort of the most common call. Look at that. Look at all those green circles coming in. Such pretty green little circles. You're so wonderful. That's something else that this library does not have right now, is it currently doesn't support running tests in parallel, which is something that would be nice to support. Things like Appium and whatnot will occasionally let you basically side by side two instances of the app and then maintain context for you, and so you can do like keyboard and mouse input and that kind of thing, which would be pretty slick, right? That would be very, very slick. But I think getting the test somewhat aware of which ones can run in parallel is probably step one. Sweet! So we're just going to tack that on, amend that to the previous commit, push it up. And that should, because we typed the words fixes #8 in our commit, the item automatically gets resolved and it goes away. Okay, trying to decide if I bite off something else here too. So here's something else that's been bothering me. Let me go back to this other one. So on all of these tests, right? For example, this one here, something very, very simple of I want to retrieve this text block. Whenever it retrieves an element, all you ever get back is iVisualElement. And unfortunately, when you are acting on iVisualElement, you can pretty much invoke any member you want, try to retrieve any property you want, regardless of whether that property exists. Which isn't really great. It's kind of sucky. And so I would kind of like to do something a little bit more intelligent. A little bit. And even including this like attach property bit, it would be nice if there was a little bit cleaner API to get to this. I think this might be as good as I get because I've spent a little time playing with this. But this guy I think we could do better on, right? And I'm kind of wondering, let's see, text block, right? So hypothetically, what if that were a thing, right? If there was a generic type on iVisualElement. Oh hush, quit your whine, right? So let's just mock this out real quick, right? So public interface iVisualElement t element, right? So that's now a thing. You would derive from iVisualElement. Yeah, hush, you're fine. But then I imagine being able to do something like string text gets await text block get maybe x lambda x dot text, right? And so if on this guy we were to declare a member that looks something like task of t get property, or how about just straight up get, right? Expression func of t element t property expression. All right, so we could do something like this. All right, once again, abuse those expression trees. But then it means that when we do this, inside of this get method, we now get nice IntelliSense for all of our properties, which is kind of cool and kind of awesome in my mind. Because now, not saying that all of these things will work, because I still have the fundamental problem of I'm serializing the data back and forth, and I'm relying entirely on type converters to exist for every single one of these types in order for it to round trip, right? So this library is very much dependent on that, and if a type converter doesn't exist for a given type, it's just going to blow up, right? But it also means that we could now get nice, yeah, so for example, this inline collection, there's no type converter for that. It's just going to go boom. But it does mean that I get nice looking IntelliSense, and I'm wondering if that is worth it, right? Like, does that look cleaner than doing await element get text, right? because both of those will get me the exact same data, right? They'll both get me there. The only difference is if I had a typed version, I could, this is an extension method, right? That lives on iVisualElement. And it's kind of convenient because it means that I can just now arbitrarily retrieve text off of any element I want. And I'm trying to decide if it's worth putting a typed API on it or not. I can't actually decide if this is actually better. I'm not even sure I like this all the way. The thing that I really would love to do, and you can hate me all day for this one, is this in my mind would be cool. Text. How about dynamic text block, right? That, in my mind, would be awesome. And we could build it out. The problem that comes, right, with this sort of style is all of these methods are async because they're not just reading properties, right? They have to make a call across to another WPF app. They have to get executing on the main GUI thread for pretty much everything. There's no smarts in it about when to get on the GUI thread versus not. It just always does. Because the vast majority of times you're touching GUI stuff, and it doesn't bother to try and tell the difference. And so it just jumps all the way across to the GUI thread, gets the value, and then serializes it and sends it back. So it's very much asynchronous, but this would be cool. But is it, problematic if somebody invokes a property? Properties by definition are expected to be fast, and async calls across named pipes, I guarantee, do not qualify as that. So thoughts that I'm considering, I don't know if I'm going to try and attack it because I don't like any of those things. One of the things that I usually like to do is I type up the API that I want to write in my test, and then I just beat the rest of the library into submission until it works. And I don't like it. I don't love it enough to want to beat it in submission. Okay, what else did I have on my list? Let's look. So replace generic exceptions with a better type. Check my test coverage numbers. This is actually harder than it sounds. This is actually really hard. Huh. So the reason this is hard is because the code that's executing is out of process. So if I were to run my code coverage numbers, I don't even know if it works. Let's see if it even works. So let's start with that. So let's see, test, analyze code coverage for all tests. I'm a little curious what this is going to do. I don't know if it's even going to succeed to run the tests, because I will be shocked if if there's not like a pathing error or something somewhere. Or, for example, it just runs forever. Yeah, about that. Guessing there's a bit of a problem. Again, my test makes some assumptions on where it's going to find and be able to start that remote WPF process, and I think the code coverage tries to like shadow copy stuff, and you run into problems with that. So that may not. So can I even realistically run code coverage? How would I even get those metrics? Because it's going to want to instrument the process being run. But I have to spin a process. Yeah. Glad I wrote this down, but I don't know if that's even realistically possible. So update readme that's an easy one, but I'm waiting until I've actually got this thing going. And then the screenshots, are captured before window is done animating. This is a consistent problem. So this is one that I don't necessarily know how to handle, and I don't know if I want to handle it. So I will explain. There is a, I think, yeah. So built into the library, there's this test recorder guy, right? And this guy here, his sole purpose in life, so he is an async disposable. And so inside of your test, what you would do is you would new up one of these recorders, right? And then at the end of the test, you call success. This is something where I think this might make its way into like a extension on various unit testing frameworks. And the key bit here, normally you do this sort of setup and teardown in a initialize call, but this guy is sort of cheating a little bit in that he's leveraging the caller's file path and the caller member name to get the unit test method name. So it needs to be invoked from inside of the unit test method in order for those attributes to get the right thing, because it takes those names and uses those to save images. So if it gets all the way down to its dispose method, right? So it gets all the way down into dispose async. If the success flag was not set by calling success, right? Like this is the only way to get this Boolean to go to true. Then it goes, okay, save a screenshot, right? And the thing also has a reasonable suffix in here for save screenshot. The problem comes is it goes to stand up a window, and the windows, oftentimes these tests execute so quickly that the window hasn't finished animating in. So like on Windows 10, if you've got all of the graphicsy stuff turned on, right? You kind of see the windows fade in a little bit when you first start an app. This thing can actually capture an image so fast that that thing hasn't actually finished animating in. Now, is that a problem? I don't think so. However, it would be nice to be able to have something on window that's like wait for loaded, right? But the loaded event in WPF actually fires before that animation finishes coming in. And I've tried various combinations of wait for idle and different things, and I can't find something that actually waits for that animation to quit. So I could put a delay on it, but that's yucky. So ultimately, I just haven't solved it yet. What is this? Get main window. Oh, that is checking for null, so that should probably be returning a null. Let's real quick. I'm sort of curious to go through and check all of my warnings because I think I have a few. Well, those may have been the last two. Let's just make sure we have all of these. Let's see, because I want to sort of clear up some of these. So let's start with this one. Let's see. This guy thinks that he's possibly null, but I don't think we're going to allow that. So that goes away. Owner type. I think we're going to just not allow that either. And then this guy here. What was the secret to this? Consider declaring the property as nullable. I think you do this and just tell it to shut up. So a bit of an explanation on this. So there's a couple cases that you'll run into with nullable reference types, where you've got something like this that's being initialized, but as far as the compiler is concerned, it can't tell that it's being initialized. So what it's concerned about is if somebody were to just go through and do, say, var foo gets new visual element tests, right? At this point, if I do foo.app, foo.app is null, right? So this dereferencing operator here is going to throw a no reference exception. However, in this particular instance, I don't believe, so yes, it is very possible for that to occur. However, this is a unit test project. This is a test class. If somebody directly instantiates this, in my mind, they deserve the weird, obtuse, no reference exception, right? Because the other option here that I was considering, so this basically assigns it because the analyzer here is just saying all non-null properties need to have a value assigned by the end of instantiation. This assigns a value. Now it's assigning null and then telling the compiler, yeah, trust me, this is not actually null, which is a bold-faced lie. Only because I know that no one's going to touch it, right? Hypothetically, if somebody were to come into this test initialize and do app dot, right, the compiler is going to lie to them. It'll say, oh yeah, I know that that's not null. It actually is. So this is kind of yucky. But there's no way to say not null after the unit test framework has called test initialize. It's not really a thing. So the other thing is you could decorate this guy with not null and declare him as nullable, right? Like this is the other way to do it. Because the issue being with making this guy nullable, if you don't put the attribute on there, right? Now you're going to get a whole bunch of warnings down here. Everywhere where you use app and it goes, app could be null. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And so you could decorate it with the attribute, right? And that fixes all of these warnings. So even though this thing's declared as nullable, the attribute says it's non-null. Is that cleaner? Maybe it's cleaner. Maybe we go that way. I don't know. Okay, rebuild one more time just to make sure this guy has picked up everything. What are the messages? Ooh, substring can be simplified. Oh, you're going to make me happy with range syntax. Yes. I approve. Plus operator cannot be applied to int and range. Well, that's just because you don't know the power of range. Boom. So there's new magical syntax with ranges. So anytime where you previously were using like substring, if you've got all the fancy new stuff turned on, it'll prompt you. So this, and I'll back this up so this is what this used to be, right? So it's a string, it's doing a substring and looking for a start index, right? So what you can do instead is on a string or anything with an indexer, right? If there is a indexer that takes in a new range class, the compiler is now hip to this idea of number dot dot number, right? Or number dot dot no number, which means go all the way to the end, right? So starting index, ending it. Starting index, ending index. I think it's starting index, ending index. So it'll be hip to that. The key part though is because it has to parse your code into that new range object, having this plus apparently confuses it and it's not hip to that idea. So you just wrap these in parens so it knows that this whole expression is the number left of the dots. Take a look at this one. Oh, sweet. We can use new switch expressions. Sweet. Sweet, 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 sweet. Which means this guy can just go there, which actually means I don't even need that. And I can just straight up return it. Muchos better. Muchos better. Yes, yes. I like it. I like it. I like it. What are you suggesting? Pattern matching. Oh, sure. Pattern matching is cool. We like pattern matching. Unnecessary assignment to parent. Why did I do that? Parent child. Must have been testing something. 0, 5. Hello. I want to know what the other 5 were. Pretty please? Did I get them all? Sweet. So let's go through here. Let's see. Cleaning up warnings. Great. Done. Done, 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 pushed. Cool. I think that might be where I call it for the night. I'm feeling exhausted. My Mountain Dew is empty. And we made good progress. I do want to go back to the material design stuff, and I'm probably going to poke at doing more of those tests around there. There's a couple controls that I'm contemplating just doing some rework on, because there's some bug fixes. There's been a lot of bugs and just issues around the transitioner control. And ultimately what happens is the transitioner has individual slides, right? And as you click through it, it transitions to them, right? Imagine like a PowerPoint slideshow type deal. The problem being is the slides that aren't visible, all it does is set the opacity to 0 rather than like hiding the slide, which is kind of problematic in a lot of cases. So I'm contemplating going through and just fixing it so that it doesn't do that. I'm also contemplating adding virtualization to it, because right now all of those elements are there. And we could probably do a lot better. So contemplating trying to clean that up and make it not such a sucky control, because it's been fraught with bugs. Or if I just fix the couple bugs that are currently known on it and be done. Because there's a few pull requests out there that I started to write tests for, and then I was like, well, it might be better to just rework the control. And then I could decide. So just something I was contemplating and thinking about. I may end up going with a simpler thing. I think the 3.2.0 release is likely to, I may kick it out sooner rather than later. I vote for refactor. Kenny, I think what you vote for is submit pull request. In fact, if you would like, we could pair on it. You can drive. And you can go through and practice your WPF skills. Because it's not necessarily a trivial one to do, but it's starting to get a whole heck of a lot easier to, now that this library exists. We can now like write tests for it, which is kind of cool. So that might be something fun to do, just as a thought. So I'm also, there's been a few other things that I've been wanting to do. There was a release to, sorry, I'm bouncing on all topics right now. There was a release for AutoMocker. So I know some people have practiced or developed my WPF skills. Let's see, AutoMock. This guy here. I lied. Thanks, Kevin. I don't know what this is for, but I learned some things. Hey, no problem, Hyperion. So the short version is I need to get a README written up for this XAML test library. The 30-second elevator pitch for it is there's no good library that I found for writing effective unit tests over your XAML. So simple things like I want to validate that my button turned red, you can't really realistically do with a lot of UI testing frameworks. And so I wrote one to be able to do that. Now, I don't think that this is a general purpose UI testing library. So people who write apps, I don't think this is likely the solution for them. This is largely built around the idea of the material design library. Because this library is all about styles and themes, I want to be able to test my styles and themes in a reasonable way. Because right now, when we make changes and releases go out the door, I have to manually click through every single page in our demo app and try to visually inspect to make sure that everything behaves correctly. And I miss stuff all the time. And so I'm trying to get it to be a lot more objective of, yep, everything's green, ship it, and send it out the door. So this is an effort to get through and do some testing. Because I started adding unit tests, but you can only unit test the C# code. You can't unit test the XAML. So this is an effort to try and, quote unquote, unit test XAML. So that's all it is. And also why it's still very much beta, because I'm still trying to figure out how to get all the things to work on it the way that I want. So unfortunately, material design, this UI library is, or everybody who's been dealing with my tests on it have been putting up with me just spamming tests for all the things. So, but it has been nice being able to effectively put tests in for bugs so that we stop regressing. There's a few areas of the code that are somewhat notorious for regressions. So, yeah, like I said, I don't think it'll be over. Like, some people may want to use it for testing their apps, and you certainly could. My one word of caution would be these tests are hypersensitive to your visual tree in WPF, which means they're going to be very fragile to UI tests or to UI changes throughout your app. So I don't think I would suggest that people use it as a UI testing library on an app that you're building, unless there's very specific cases within that app that you're looking to test with. In general, something like Appium is better because it's a little bit more behavioral driven. Like, click the OK button. It could care less where that OK button is, and that kind of thing. This library kind of allows that, but it's very hyper focused. So again, I don't think it would be a general purpose solution for everybody. Because I started with Appium on this library, and then I yanked it out because the level of detail I could get to was nowhere close to sufficient. So, and there's a few tests in here that might appear to be problematic. I think this one here actually baffles me a little bit. Is this one failed on a UI test, but where's the button for rerun? Let's just rerun these tests, because this one failed on a UI test, but the changes in here don't like, these are all new files, right? There's not a single edit. So I'm a little curious as to how this is effectively a new app that was being proposed, which is kind of cool. The idea is to be able to build a color theme and save it, which is nice. I think I may push to try and have this actually included in the demo app rather than as a separate one. And there's also some major theming changes that are going to be coming in the 4.0 release. So lots of brushes, lots of renames. It's gonna break stuff. If anybody's curious, there's a list I've been compiling of everything that's going to break for 4.0. So just be aware that lots of stuff. Most of the time, I think it should be pretty simple, but that will be coming. So cool. Unless anyone has any questions, I think I'm probably going to check out for the night. Say thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Hopefully people learn stuff. If there's topics people are interested in, let me know. I am planning on going back and doing a little bit more of the .NET Interactive stuff. I need to get it set up on this machine. I was poking at it and trying to get that working. So if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, YouTube videos. Oh, Eric, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, the .NET Interactive stuff was basically this, being able to go through and connect into a WPF app from .NET Interactive inside of VS Code. So it's the same stuff that powers like the Jupyter notebooks. So there's a video out on my YouTube, which I'm pretty sure you found, Eric, where John and why am I blanking on his name? Starts with a D. Now I gotta look. John and Diego. Thank you. There's where John and Diego went through and helped me build this out and get this going. And so I want to, my end goal is to, because this required making some changes inside of the WPF app. I've got a NuGet package I'm looking to put together that basically links this and Snoop together so that you can use Snoop to jump into the WPF app, do all of this stuff, and then pop the Snoop UI if you want. So I think that would be absolutely awesome, because then you could have all of the power of Snoop and all of the power of C# and just go to town on it, which just sounds awesome to me. Totally awesome. So we'll see if any of that comes to fruition. That will probably be where I look to go next week, but I've got a few other people who have said that they've got some pairing ideas and whatnot that they want to work on. So Kenny, Eric, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Always appreciate it. Eric, I'll probably see you tomorrow. Actually, Kenny, I'll probably talk to you tomorrow too anyway. So you guys have a good night. We will talk to you later. Happy coding.